I'd like to just start us off today with Act 1, Scene 1. We won't get too far today, and that's totally fine. I just want to kind of get the ball rolling and get us thinking about this stuff. Remember, it is always a play. Okay? This is the script given to people to act. Shakespeare is the most produced playwright in the world every year. People still do it. It's still a moneymaker. People still are challenged by it. The stories, the characters, the struggle, the fights, the love, all of this stuff. And it's still pretty popular. If you look at the top of Scene 1, notice it's very important they give you in bold the locations. You've got to follow, because there will be times where it's going to jump from Scotland to London to the battlefield. And if you don't look at those, you're going to be lost for a while. Maybe you'll go, oh, this doesn't sound right, and then you double check. Notice the scene directions. So-and-so enters, so-and-so exits. It's important because we have monologues, but then we have soliloquies. Soliloquies are when nobody else is on stage and they're by themselves. How do you know if somebody's not on stage? Well, it's going to tell you people exited or they're alone, that type of thing. So as you're reading this, picture in a theater with a stage and people coming on, coming off. That's the best way I think that I can explain to understand this as we go. There are links on Moodle that we will not go through in class, but some video clips, some of plays and some of films. You know, spend some time looking at those. See if your vision in your head, reflected what you saw there. There are reading guides that you will have to keep up on, so you're going to want to download those and work through them. They're broken down by section, so work through those at your own pace, and those will be due, at the very end. Yeah, just pay attention to footnotes. I can't get through a new Shakespeare play without footnotes. I'm not a scholar of Shakespeare. Okay? He was a man of, well, most people have a vocabulary, I saw a stat, have a vocabulary of 5,000 words. Shakespeare had a vocabulary of roughly 25,000 words. And a lot of the words or terms we don't even use nowadays. Okay? And so how are you supposed to understand what they're talking about or references? Their schooling was heavy into the Latin and into the Roman life and mythology, and this was during the heart of the Renaissance. Do we teach you guys mythology? So when he has allusions to all of these gods and their relationships, you're supposed to know what that means. And so look at those footnotes, and they'll help you out. Okay? You're a fool if you do not use the footnotes. Okay? So 319, Act 1. Scene 1, Scotland, an open place. Okay, so a very weird scene to start it off. The witches speak in a weird way. They kind of call it double talk because they kind of counter what they say at times, and we'll see more examples later. But they do speak different than what the rest of the play is. I also wanted to say, I forgot to mention earlier, that I have no problem with you guys looking at No Fear Shakespeare from time to time to see what happens. There will be times where we don't read this stuff in class and you have to finish it. My advice to you is read this. Read it one time by yourself, and then look at that No Fear Shakespeare or your Cliff Notes or whatever, and read it and go, yeah, that's what I got. Or, oh, I missed this part. How did I find that out? Okay, but that's my advice to you. Strictly reading No Fear Shakespeare is not going to help you out. Okay? Our tests and such are designed that it's not going to help you. You're not going to do very well. Okay? But paying attention to what we say in class, as well as using these other resources, will greatly help you out. So the witches are there to establish this supernatural presence. Okay, imagine a big cauldron, and they're just kind of around and around it, and it's dark and not snowy, but foggy and such. And right off the bat, when are we going to meet again? When shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain? Oh, when the hurly-burly's done, when the battle's lost and won. Well, how can a battle be lost and won? Well, I guess one side would win, right? And one side would lose. And so what they say is, when are we going to meet again? And the second witch says, well, when the commotion's done, when the battle's done, when the battle's over and there's a victor, we're going to meet again. Oh, okay, well, that be ere the set of sun. Well, that's going to be before the sunset. So that's going to happen here in the near future. Oh, well, where's the place? Oh, upon the heath, which you look, it's a land covered by small shrubs. Ah, there we'll meet Macbeth. So we can see that they can see into the future. Whenever I see these people in my mind, I think of, remember the cartoon Hercules movie? Hercules? They had the 3 fates down there with Hades. Who do you think that's an allusion to? This. 3 witches talking about the fate, talking about, predicting the future. And it's funny because Macbeth will come to them wanting to know his future and wants to know these things, just like Hades wants to know if Hercules is going to throw a big wrench in his plans. But here we see the witches say, when are we going to meet again? And we see their examples of their foreshadowing. We're going to meet after the battle's won and lost. Oh, well, that's going to be before the sunset. Where? Well, we'll meet up there. That's where we're going to meet Macbeth. And so we see this establishment. It's a very short scene. I mean, there's only a couple scenes that are even shorter than this. But most scenes are, 3 to 5 minutes long, but pretty short and pretty quick. Scene 2 is pretty relevant because we see Duncan. We meet the king. We hear stories about Macbeth and how valiant he is in battle. But we don't even meet Macbeth until scene 3, when he does meet the witches. Okay, so this helps establish what kind of a character he is, characterization, what do other people think about him before we even meet him. And so we find out all of these lofty things that he does before we even meet the individual. And so we have him on such a high pedestal and everybody thinks such great things of him. And that makes that tragedy even greater, the way that people feel about him at the end. We think we're equals with you, but we think you're up here, but yet you're going to go up here to king and eventually way down here. And yet that journey is what makes the story that interesting. Okay?